What's going on, everyone? So Rob Pelinka has his work cut out for him between now and the February 8th NBA trade deadline. So we're a little bit close to a month away from that. And look, I fully expect Rob Pelinka to remain patient as he has during his entire tenure. The Lakers can't really even do anything big or major until the 15th of January. So we're still about 5 days away from that. But as much as I would love for something to happen on the 15th, as I've mentioned, don't expect it. Right? Rob Pelinka, he's going to make sure he gets the best deal. Many other teams, they're not in a rush to help the Lakers, right? Obviously, any type of trade, there's going to be mutual beneficiaries, right? But still, it's not like you're relying on another team to kind of have the same urgency as you do, and that doesn't necessarily have to lead up and be the case. But I trust Rob. I know he's going to right the ship. I know he's going to do a good job this NBA trade deadline if something's there, right? If Rob Pelinka doesn't do anything, it's probably because there's nothing there. And it's just better to stick with the guys that you have. But regardless, D'Angelo Russell is very likely out the door. He didn't speak with the media. His minutes are getting lower and lower, it appears. He's moved to the bench. It just kind of seems like the Lakers are kind of getting a good look at everyone else and kind of try and just play him just to show other teams like, hey, he can still play, but not play him enough to where he hurts himself or anything significant, right? They're being cautious with him, or at least that's what it appears to be. D'Angelo Russell is clearly frustrated, and the Lakers, I believe, are fully going to move off of D'Angelo Russell. And Zach Lavine is more likely than not going to be the main target. There are talks about, obviously, DeJounte Murray, and maybe they do go another direction, but I just think the Lakers are going to look at trying to go get that big impact player and then maybe some other small pieces, right? Maybe you go get like a Miles Bridges, or you go get an Andre Drummond in the deal with Zach Lavine. Maybe you can even convince them to throw in an Alex Caruso or something, right? Hopefully it's more than just Zach Lavine, but I do think Zach Lavine's going to be the big push, the big move. Like, here's the guy that gives you that consistent go-to score. Now, look, just a guy. I could be completely wrong. Maybe they go a completely different direction. Maybe it's somebody we're not even thinking of that ends up coming to Lakers and becoming available, and that ends up happening. But to me, it kind of looks like all signs are pointing to Zach Lavine, and I just believe Zach Lavine is going to be the trade that gets done. Question is, when does the Zach Lavine trade happen? Does it happen exactly on the 15th? It's a possibility, right? The Lakers could very well already have all of the ins and outs already worked out, and they're just waiting for the trade deadline. That could be a real possibility. But I like to kind of, put a tinfoil hat on from time to time and go down little rabbit holes and see, like, when does it kind of make sense for a trade to get done? And also, like, what would be best for the drama, right? Because you got to remember, at the end of the day, NBA, still entertainment, right? Well, the Lakers already played the Chicago Bulls once, so they only have one more game against the Bulls. Now, you can make an argument that why would Chicago want to get a trade done before they play the Lakers, right? Because, you don't want to see Zach Lavine. If you trade Zach Lavine, guess what? If you don't see the Lakers again, then you never have to run into Zach Lavine, at least this year. You have to run into him eventually next year. But the other side of that is the entertainment factor, right? Some of the best games are the games where somebody goes and plays their old team. And how do they look? And how do they show up? And the team wants to show, oh, we didn't need you. And that player wants to show, oh, you need me. And just so happens that the Lakers play the Chicago Bulls on January 25th. It'll be the last time that the Lakers play the Bulls this season. So, again, tinfoil hat on. Does Zach Lavine become a Laker before the 25th? So my guess is that if that is going to happen, then I look at the schedule, more likely than not, it's going to be somewhere between like the 17th and the 20th is what I think. If I had to guess. Again, this is all just speculation. This is all just a guess. This is all just fun conversation. Okay? Don't take this as like gospel or anything like that. Don't take this as like, oh, Laker Domus is calling it on the... No, I mean, look, I think it makes sense. I think it could really happen. I think it kind of adds up, if I'm being honest, right? Like, the Lakers would love to have Zach Lavine going into that Bulls game. The NBA would love to have Zach Lavine on the Lakers going into that Bulls game because people are going to be pumped. guys that aren't Laker fans, guys that aren't Bulls fans are all going to want to go see that game because, again, those games are the ones that are always fun, right? Like when LeBron plays Cleveland, or you get somebody like Kyrie playing the Nets, right? Or, Kyrie when he played the Cavs or Boston or whatever, right? Like, Donovan Mitchell when he plays the Jazz. And the difference would be is that Chicago has been pretty good without Zach Lavine, and the Lakers, there's real question marks, right? Even with Zach Lavine, does it work? So I just think it would be fun entertainment to get that done, have, the highlights and all that stuff to where, okay, let's get Zach Lavine on the Lakers before January 25th. Now, I'm not saying that the NBA is going to intervene and be like, hey, you guys need to get this. I'm not saying anything like that. But I am saying that, like, the Lakers and the Bulls are very likely going to get a deal done. There have been reports that have talked about, like, all signs point to them figuring it out and getting a deal done, and they may even have the groundwork for it. So if they already have it figured out, right, then it would make sense that it would happen regardless. Like, I'm not saying that the NBA is going to come in and be like, hey, Bulls, you need to trade Zach Lavine to the Lakers by this day. No, if Chicago wants to be patient, then they'll be patient. But Chicago wants to get rid of Zach Lavine, right? Chicago is kind of in a need of desperation to get rid of Zach Lavine. The Lakers are kind of in a need of desperation to acquire Zach Lavine. So it's a mutually beneficial thing for both sides. You unload the guy, we take the guy, you get some pieces that can help with what you got and what the direction you're going now, and we get a guy that helps us right in the moment that fits a need and a role that we have, right? It's a mutually beneficial trade. Here you go. All sides are happy, and you get the deal done sooner rather than later. Or sooner rather than later, not sooner rather than later. But also it would give the Lakers enough time to maybe go look to get other smaller moves or things like that, right? Once you acquire Zach Lavine, it's like, okay, well, what else do we need? What else can we get? Is there another, trade to where we can maybe turn a couple guys into somebody else or whatever? Or are there any, guys that got waived or bought out or anything? Right, just kind of gives the Lakers that time to kind of put things into gear. Chicago, they get to do it. So, I mean, again, you can make as big, if not more of an argument of like, hey, why would the Bulls want to trade him by January 25th when they would have to see him and run into him? But things just tend to happen that way, right? Like, just think of things in all sports. Right, there's usually like that approaching date that's interesting, or, a player's going to play, like if he gets traded, he's going to play that team, and then the trade ends up happening, like stuff like that. Like, you always tend to see those types of things happen, right? And so, it's just because there is a level of entertainment, there is a level of that. And, I mean, look, Chicago might not even be the Lakers might not even be thinking either way, right? I think the last thing on their mind is like, oh, we might have Lavine by the time we play the Bulls, or the Bulls might be looking at us like because if they're going to trade, neither side is really going to care that much, right? Like Chicago, they want to get rid of Lavine regardless, right? Lavine's not going to be a part of the team, right? So it's not like it's like, oh man, like this would really hurt. Like Chicago's going to be in the same boat regardless, right? Now, obviously they might not want to, they lose to Lavine, right? Especially if Lavine has a big game or whatever. And then from the Lakers standpoint, again, if you get Lavine, like you're just worried about winning games once you make the trade, regardless of who it is. But I do think it would mean something for Lavine, right? And then you get the players that kind of rally around Lavine, things like that. Again, it's just one of those things that things tend to seem to happen and fall that way a lot. You see a lot of things just kind of, just seem odd, and they like, no, it's not going to happen by that time, and it does, right? Like, it's just, I don't know. If it was, like, on the 15th or, like, even the 17th or something like that, I don't think it would happen. But the fact that it's, like, it's basically, like, a week and a half before the trade deadline. The Lakers want to get the Bulls deal done as soon as possible. The Bulls want to get their deal done as soon as possible. Like, I could just see it naturally falling in that area. But, again, this is just a fun conversation. Again, I'm not saying lock in your calendar. It's happening on the 20th or anything like that. I do think it's a real possibility. I do think that it's very possible that it could happen. Like, again, my guess is that it probably falls somewhere in that, like, 17th to 20th, because they're gonna want to get him locked in, ready to go, and kind of, he's got to go through the evaluations and all that stuff. So, like, they're going to want to get him settled in, maybe even get him a game or two before that Bulls game, right? Last thing you want is, like, that first game to be the Bulls game, because he's probably going to have emotions, stuff like that. But I don't know. We'll see. But as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? Do you like the idea of Lavine trade getting done before the 25th? Look, again, it might not even happen. I don't know, right? I'm not saying, like, lock it in, it's coming. I don't know. It's just, it makes sense. But anyway, again, however you feel, what your thoughts are, I would love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos. Truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.